Welcome to NBR This Week, a look back at our leading stories. The High Court has heard the matriarch of one of the country's wealthiest families is upset no one in her family invested in Pushpay on her behalf, as a week-long trial began into the Hulich family's financial arrangements. The long-running dispute between Elizabeth Hulich against sons Chris and Michael and grandson Peter has made its way to trial after originally starting 4 years ago against just Chris. The hearing began with a warning from Justice Geoffrey Venning to Miss Hulich's new lawyer, Graham Little, that the case by her legal team was not well developed. The original statement of claim had been amended 9 times. The case centres on a Kiwi Bank loan facility created when Elizabeth mortgaged some of her St Heliers properties, which she says was to help Chris and Peter when they were cash-strapped. Construction industry expert Russell Lunn says the liquidation of Korbel construction comes as no surprise to the industry, as the company failed to get the basics right. The Christchurch-based company, which had been in operation for 17 years, specialised in projects across commercial, industrial, education, community, health and interior sectors. Andrew Alshot of Ashton Whelans was appointed liquidator. BNZ has a general security agreement over Korbel's assets. Other secured parties include Fletcher Steel as well as the Ministry of Education. Mr Lunn says 3 things triggered Korbel's demise: 2 failed projects, a yes-to-everything attitude, and an over-reliance on marketing. Fonterra has taken a first step toward unwinding its troubled joint venture with Chinese infant formula company Beingmate. The co-op says it had reached an agreement with Beingmate that will see it return to full ownership of the Darnham milk powder plant in Victoria by year end. The JV was part of its investment in an 18.8% stake in Beingmate, which is now worth significantly less than the $753 million it paid in 2015. A decision is still to be made on what to do with that investment. The dairy co-op has also revealed it's considering selling its Tip Top ice cream business as part of a review of its portfolio aimed at reducing debt by $800 million. Fonterra also said it had revised its 2018-19 forecast farmgate milk price range to $6 to $6.30 per kilogram of milk solids, from the previous range of $6.25 to $6.50, although its forecast earnings per share range has been maintained at 25 to 35 cents. NBR's Grant Walker spoke to CFO Mark Rivers about what's next for the Beingmate connection.
Right. So after taking Anma back and then with the having the Darnham manufacturing relationship sorted, then what's left is a financial stake in the company. And so with that, then the full range of options are at the table.
Which include what?
Well, when you own a financial stake, it's buy, sell, or hold. So it's a full range of options.
Well, you won't be buying.
So it's a full range of options this time. And so as we proceed and we make a decision, then we'll come out further with that.
Former employees of Auckland-based Phoenix Publishing, which has the lifestyle publications Z Home and Z Inspired magazine, are calling for an employment banning order to be placed on its sole director Bronwyn Rawson, aka Bronwyn Somerville. Ms Rawson, a former bankrupt, didn't respond to NBR's repeated requests for comment. Former employees say they were underpaid or not paid at all from 2016 to 2018. All went through Employment Relations Authority processes, with awards now totalling over $73,000. Few have been paid. Ms Rawson refused to attend mediation sessions, and her refusal to pay or lack of remorse shown angered some ERA members in their decisions. The courts can make a pecuniary penalty order of up to $50,000, or they can make a banning order against a person if satisfied they have persistently breached employment standards. Several business owners have also come forward voicing their frustration over promised advertising that never eventuated or had never been asked for. Disgraced office equipment company Fuji Xerox New Zealand says it's turning its back on a toxic sales culture that almost destroyed the business and cost shareholders more than $300 million. Managing Director Peter Thomas has been running the show for a year, taking on the job a few months after a report from parent company Fuji Film Holdings confirmed NBR's exposure in September 2016 of a looming financial scandal. Several factors drove Fuji Xerox over the cliff, but the biggest was its abuse of accounting techniques that artificially inflated revenue. The Fujifilm report estimated the impact on Fuji Xerox New Zealand's balance sheet at $318 million as of March 2016. Mr Thomas says the figure is now closer to $400 million. He spoke to NBR's Tim Hunter about introducing 2 whistleblowing lines.
Look, I think we've introduced some 2 separate whistleblowing lines. But to be honest, whistleblowing lines are the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. You need to be able to create a culture where if people see things going wrong, they feel confident they can raise those to management and they'll be addressed. And I think in the past, again, which I think is highlighted in the report, people were typically, when they raised issues with management, they went unanswered and people became afraid, I think at times, to raise those issues with management as well for fear of retribution.
NBR's Calida Stewart-Menteith spoke to Craig's investment partners Mark Lister about the week on the markets.
The markets took another dive on Wednesday. Why, and have they recovered?
Look, it's been a very volatile week. We started the week in positive territory after that G20 summit with Trump and his Chinese counterpart, causing some positive headlines on the trade front. And we had the markets closed on Wednesday, so that probably disrupted things a little bit. But all in all, I think it's just more of the same. You've got a lot of nervousness out there about the path of US interest rates and where they'll go next year. Trade is a really big one, and markets aren't sure whether they should be happy about the developments they've seen or whether they should be still apprehensive. Plus, you've got those general fears about slowing economic growth and what that's going to mean for asset classes like shares that are still at very high valuations in many places. So, look, I think it's a combination of things that is really just causing people to shoot first and ask questions later and take a bit of risk off the table.
And looking ahead to next week, our Shoeshine columnist takes a look at the failed takeover bid for Tilt Renewables, which provides an interesting case study in takeover defence. So for more on that and other stories, head to our website and have a wonderful weekend.
To unlock your 2 free articles a week, head to nbr.co.nz.